Hey guys, it's Clyde here live from the Leechburg Lights studio, and we're going to be mixing it up today. I have some exciting news to pass on to you guys. First of all, what you're looking at here is a brand new setup page. I've created a brand new directory here. This is for Nutcracker sequencing, LOR DMX, and today's video is about how do you set up the LOR CTB16PC LOR AC controller. And what I want to do is I wanted to be able to run XLights Nutcracker and control my LOR controller in DMX mode. Now it turns out there's a number of steps that you have to go through in order for this to work. However, if you follow the video, I'm pretty sure that you'll be able to get the same results that I have. So first of all you see here is a brand new universe set up in XLights Nutcracker. I'm using 4.2.6 right now. And what I've done is I went in here and I added E131. I selected a starting universe of 1, number of universes 1, and the last channel was 512. That's what I set up as. I clicked OK. Now I made a second one. I'm going to delete it. And I clicked Save Setup. Next, what I did was I went to my Layout tab. Now I've already created the model, but I'll show you how I've created the model. Because I want to control 16 channels of Light O Rama, 16 LOR, I created a grid view. And this grid view in my model, we'll go modify it, and you can have a look. It is nothing but a simple, basic, custom model that I named it as a grid, and I wrote custom. I chose custom as the model, and I changed to single color white. That's how it's displayed. Then I added in my descriptors here to make the grid, and I laid out my channels as follows over here in the grid form. I just typed the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. My start channel is channel number 1. My end channel is number 16, so I'm using a maximum of 16 DMX channels. Okay? I set my start channel by setting number 1 here, and since there are 16 different numbers in here, the sequential numbers in here, then the channels were auto-filled in with up to 16 channels. So I made this part of my display, and I clicked OK, and I clicked OK. I came over here to the sequencer tab, and I created a new musical sequence, and I'll go ahead and open that one up right now. LOR test in DMX, and as you can see, I have a corrupt file. Oh, well, that's good. It's a good thing I already recorded the video for this. In any event, it looks like I have no waveform, but I can fix that pretty quick. I have done some sequencing here, and you can see through the model preview that it looks like I've done a pretty good amount of it all the way through here. You'll be able to see this very, very well at the end of the entire video. So I just wanted to show you the setup in XLights Nutcracker and how I set up my model, and you guys can now follow along with the rest. Now what we are going to do is we're going to minimize this, and I'm going to go over to we'll close out Nutcracker, I guess, and we'll go right here into a browser. Now I have all these shortcuts saved for all of my controllers in my show, and what I've done is I'm going to connect right now to the bridge, the E131 bridge. It's a 4-output bridge. You can see my other video on this. And I'm just going to do some quick configuration within the setup screen here. So from this setup screen, from this open tab in Firefox, I'm just going to click on the bridge setup page, which is IP address 192.168.1.5, and we go right to the page. Now, what's important to know is that I do have the 4 outputs on the bridge, as you saw, and down here on the bottom is the current configuration. I know right now that my output number 1 is set to universe number 1. So if we go back here and we bring up Light O Rama, we go to our setup tab, we've already set up one universe number 1, with 512 channels mapped to universe 1 through multicast. So pretty much this is the second step of our process. Okay, next I want to begin by setting up for the exchange of firmware on my Light O Rama controllers. I wanted to go ahead and show you how to update the firmware. So I've already taken a second to put my USB cable into the computer. Now I'm just going to connect up. This is my original Light O Rama RS485 with B with the two outputs. So this is what it came with back in 2007 whenever I ordered it for my starter kit. Now I'm going to just attach a typical standard network wire, and I'm going to go right into the controllers. And I'm going to plug in. You can see I just plugged it right into the Light O Rama controller. Nothing fancy. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my power cord and plug it right in. Alright, so here's the next process. We're going to start with downloading the firmware for the Light O Rama controllers. Now, this controller happens to be version 1. It's not a version 2 board. And according to Light O Rama, the firmware versions do not match. Now, what I'm at the firmware download page, and to get here, you just go to the lightorama.com, go to support, and under support it says firmware updates. So that's the page we're on. Now, since this is a Planet Christmas CTB16PC card, we're going to scroll down to the firmware section with that information stored in it, and we're going to. Whoop, I think I passed it. There we go. It's right here, Light O Rama PC series. Now, I don't have Gen 3 boards here listed, and it only shows support for version 2 boards. But asking around and doing some questioning, we know that anything above version 4.2 firmware is firmware that's going to operate in DMX mode. So I'm just going to go ahead and click that, and I'm going to download it. There we go. Now I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to open up and I'm going to copy this file here. I'm just going to go ahead and copy, and we're going to go back to. I guess I could just do it out of the other one. We're going to go back to our documents, and I'm going to go into my Light O Rama folder. I created this firmware file, and I have this file for updating the firmware for my other boards. So I just want to go ahead and I want to paste this firmware version, and I'm going to put it right there. So we know that version 4.2 should be able to operate DMX on the Light O Rama controllers. Next, we're going to go into the hardware configuration tool for Light O Rama. I think that's up. Cancel that. Yes, that's right there. Now we have already gone and we auto-configured our COM port setup. We have it set to COM port 4, and I went through and I refreshed the network to see what is connected. So now we know we have my RS485 dongle here. I've only set up a maximum of 5 universes over there to search for, and it's found the one PC controller. It's 4.02 is the current firmware. I am going to click down here where it says firmware, and then I'm going to click up here and click select unit above, and that's the unit that's going to be adjusted. Then I'm going to go in here and I'm going to select my version 4.2 and click OK. And from there, I'm going to go ahead and click download. So right now, it is starting the load process of grabbing the unit and grabbing the firmware file and merging the file into the processor that is on the main processor that there is on the LOR controller. So we can see the updates in progress. We'll come back when it's done. Alright, it says our status is successful, so we should now have a Light O Rama controller. Notice that it's no longer blinking, it's actually activated. And we'll go back and we'll click refresh right there, and we'll refresh the network and see if the current firmware version is now updated to 4.2. Like I said, version 4.2 is the firmware level that is required in order to run a Light O Rama PC controller in DMX mode. And once again, this unit here is a version 1 board, so it's kind of hard for me to, I might be able to get in there and zoom in and show you. Yeah, you can see this, the version 1 is right there. So okay, I want to do a real quick addition to the video in the shop by showing you, if you go to www.lightorama.com/documentation, you're going to come up with the documentation page. You can also find that from the Light O Rama page by clicking on support and going to documentation. What we're doing is we need to learn how to set the actual start channels for DMX. Now, the way things work in Light O Rama world is a little different than they work in DMX, but it still works to our advantage. We can use it. We're going to scroll down. Now, I have the I actually have the LOR CTB16PC, which is right here, this one here, but it's in the user guide. It doesn't really help me calculate my channels and my start channel and my controller number and so forth. What I need to do is I need to go down to the lower end here where it says DMX information using the LOR controllers in a DMX universe. So I'm going to click on this and open up the user's guide. And this user's guide tells you this is what this is good for your Light O Rama hardware and, that you own. This is where in the video when I mentioned that the CTB16PCs have to have the 4.2 or higher firmware upgrade. So that's why the big deal is for updating the firmware into the video. Now, then the next part of this is setting up the actual DMX address. You can read through this document on your own, but pretty much this is the basis for 512 channels of Light O Rama. So right now I'm only planning on using one Light O Rama controller in my DMX universe. What I'm going to do is I'm going to individually set that LOR controller to be unit number 1. Now if I need to start at channel 17 in the DMX universe, I change the start address to 2, or not the start address but the unit number to 2. And so forth. You just use this document to help you figure out exactly what channel you need to start with. If you're running a large Light O Rama display with almost 500 channels in DMX, then you can do that using this setup once again. And we're going to move on to the next step, which is getting some lights plugged in, and let's see if we can get this guy to run. So the next step moving on is our process of building what's called a crossover cable, and that's what I've created right here. This cable here is one continuous cable, and it's not just your standard Cat5e cable that you connect from one LOR controller to the next, or from one switch to an E131 connection. This cable has been I had to manufacture it to get it to take data from DMX, which is going to plug into our bridge, and then it's going to get rerouted through the cable into the LOR protocol ports. Okay guys, here we are. We're back with our final steps to running the LOR Light O Rama controller in DMX mode using XLights. And what I went ahead and done was I took these 16 channels and I scrounged 16 sets of LEDs that were in the basement still. And I went ahead and connected them up in order, and I made kind of a matrix. And I started down here on the bottom left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And with this layout, it's not going to be anything drastic or dramatic, but it will definitely prove that using Light O Rama hardware and XLights software that you can buy, for sure, go ahead and do this on your own. Now, there is one thing that I want to come over here to the computer and show you before we start, and that is, I'm going to move in here, down here on the bottom of whenever you have the Light O Rama software control panel, it's up and running. Whenever you have it up and running, you have this little light bulb here. Okay, that is constantly putting out, if your network is set up to for Light O Rama to put out E131 through the network jack. What that does is that opens up the LOR listener. I'll go ahead and scroll up here, and we'll scroll out. So you've got the LOR listener running, and what the listener does is it's waiting for Light O Rama to give commands. So in this aspect, right now, Light O Rama is outputting E131 data to something, which would be this bridge here. But what it's doing is it's also going up against the output of DMX from the XLights Nutcracker 4 software. If I try and run XLights software while the LOR listener is running, there will be interference and the lights will flash, and XLights will try to render the effects, but they won't work very well. In order to fix that, you need to, and I'll go ahead and pick a more dramatic effect that will be a little more exciting when we turn it over. In order to make this work, all we're going to do is we're going to go down to our system tray here, and we're going to right-click on the Light O Rama hardware control panel, and we're going to unload Light O Rama. Now, as soon as we do this, that should be all that we need to stop the listener. There's no more listener running. We just have the hardware editor up. That's it. We'll turn that off as well, because that sends information out through the COM port, which we're not using currently. And what we went ahead and did was we've already connected to our lights. We've connected our crossover cable, which is right here, and we've connected it, as I said before, with the DMX inside there. And now, as you can see, we scroll over. Now we don't have that flicker anymore, because now we're running with Light O Rama's dongle, or not with, we're running with E131 out of Universe 1 using DMX into the Light O Rama controller, and you can see that the effect, this is actually the fan effect. I'm pretty sure you can tell that it's actually spinning and twirling there. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead, turn up the radio, turn off the lights, and let you guys have a shot at seeing how sequencing in XLights actually works great, and using XLights to run your Light O Rama controllers will work very well.
Just a little box strength, we call it old same thing. Lunch a walking to bargain with a 4-speed stick. She's getting yellow thread with a skid for a wheel. And instead of hits the gas, man, just watch it feel. It's the little Saint Nick, little Saint Nick. It's the little Saint Nick, little Saint Nick. A run, run, reindeer. A run, run, reindeer. Run, run, reindeer. Run, run, reindeer. Don't miss no one. He's hauling through the snow at a frightening speed, with a half a dozen deer in the rooty to. He's got a pair of goggles 'cause the snow really flies, and he's cruising every path with a little surprise. It's the little Saint Nick, little Saint Nick. It's the little Saint Nick, the little Saint Nick. Merry Christmas, Saint Nick.